Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast, the Potapalooza version. And today I have another exciting guest for me to speak with, Tessa, and it's Alburn. Correct, Tessa? Yes.
That's correct. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you so much for being on today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm looking forward to our conversation here.
So what I always start with is an easy question, which is to tell the audience where you're located. Where do you live?
Oh, I'm laughing because I'm like the traveling digital gypsy nomad right now, and I am living currently in Idaho.
Idaho, awesome.
Eastern Idaho, near Jackson, Wyoming.
Yeah, it's funny. This past year, I've interviewed probably 3 or 4 people that actually live in a trailer, a mobile home or whatever. They just go from country to country, state to state or whatever, and live that nomad's life.
Yes, I like a little more luxury. So I'm like in an actual 1,500 square foot space, but so I travel in style.
You and I should travel together. Yes.
There
All
we
right.
go.
So tell everybody what you do and how you got started doing this.
I would be delighted to. So I believe in the sovereignty of people, being sovereign to have our own answers, to make our own decisions, our own choices, and to have our own direct revelation. And so what I do is I help women to make greater, better decisions with greater clarity. I help them to have their soul voice, right? Which means really coming into alignment with their soul, so that they really feel more empowered, right? They can find the answers. They get to a place where they're like, yeah, I know how to get that information, or I know how to receive that wisdom. So a lot of the women that I work with have already been doing some work, but they want that deeper connection into soul and its wisdom. And ultimately, they bring their voice forward in leadership and at home.
As you were talking, it just made me think that those people would become more peaceful and more centered and comfortable. So,
yes,
greatly.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it.
And I think once you're in that space, it allows you to be more creative and innovative, which again helps you in leadership, as you mentioned.
Yes. Oh, I love that you just thought of that, because that's actually sort of like part of my typing, which is creative innovator. And I used to create from a place of stress. And after doing my own work, now I create from a place of, alignment, happiness, ooh, what do I want to do next? And just the joy of it.
And it's funny because, when people see me, they think you just have such a busy life, and they're all looking for the time where they can slow down and, do whatever, do nothing. And I find time to do nothing, but when I'm busy, it's doing what I love. And I think that's the difference. You can be busy doing what you hate, or busy.
Or the have-tos, right? That list of endless, I have to do this and that.
Right. So what brought you though to this?
Well, let's see, we've got just a few minutes here. So let me see if I can do the nutshell version. it all starts, of course, with whatever our deepest pain is, I think.
Yeah.
And so mine was no different. My deepest pain was being an introvert, and feeling really disconnected and really, really small, and and definitely not safe,
Mm.
in the world as a young girl, and not in my home. And so later that led to, in my teen years, that led to depression and suicidal ideation. And then depression continued with, drinking alcohol in college and all that stuff. It just sort of amplified it. And so at one point I was just like, this just can't go on. Like, I know I'll end it if it doesn't change. And so I had to find enough self-value, enough self-worth to say, I'm going to get help. Even if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to find something and I'm going to do it. And I found the money and I started in, and I just want to say my gratitude right now to my first ever chiropractor when I was 20 something, 22 maybe. Back then, 40 years ago, it wasn't the normal. Right?
Yeah, they were quacks.
That's right. But mine had a spiritual sense about her, and I started to feel my value. That wasn't why I went to her. I went because I had been in a car accident.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so one thing led to the next, and the big piece next was when I was realizing, through a conversation with a friend, we were talking about, the deeper meaning in life and this sort of thing. And we got to talking about books, and she shared a book she had read on the dream body. I think it was by Arnold Mindell. And I began my hunt. I was searching. And so I looked up Sandra Ingerman, and when I read her words, I knew that I had suffered soul loss through the traumas in my childhood. And so that began that moved the needle to the other side of the dial ever since. And it's just been one thing after the next, where I continue to learn and grow on that level of what's available to us that's not in the norm, right? Like what else is available to us on the quantum level, in the cosmos? What is the universal wisdom? And learning to tune into those things and heal ourselves and heal myself led to me being able to heal others and to help them. And then things have sort of morphed and transitioned. So now that soul stuff could be any flavor of the work that I do, right? Like somebody might come to me for health reasons, and somebody else might come to me because they want to be in greater alignment and on purpose with their business, or just heal their relationships. But it all comes from the center, the core, the soul connectedness.
So what would 3 golden nuggets that you would like our audience to take away from this, that if you could only give them 3 things to think about, to consider, what would they be?
The first is to do what you need to do to be at peace in yourself. Take a baby step towards that, right? And maybe that's getting support, whether it's therapy or coaching or talking with your pastor, but to start to make peace, right? And not holding grudges against yourself. So there could be a follow-up of forgiveness, let's say, a forgiveness process or a period of time. The second would be to begin to understand your emotions and not push them away, but to welcome them and to embrace them as a reflection of what you're going through and what you need. So if we can be at peace with those emotions, we acknowledge them and get curious about them,
right?
Then we can gain greater knowledge. The third, if you're not feeling like you can reach to your soul right now and understand what that even means, then you can choose to work with your body. The body, similar to emotions, has many, many messages for us. The wisdom is there, and soul and spirit will come into the body if we can make peace with the body and we can create space and learn to understand the sensations that we're feeling. And I mean sensations, like what are we feeling in our body when we're having a particular emotion?
Yeah.
So these would be my top 3.
That's awesome. So making peace, understanding and welcoming your emotions, and working with your body to find the wisdom. I love those items.
Thank you.
So when you have a client come to you, even, a friend that needs your guidance, your wisdom, what are some mistakes that you've heard that people make as they're going through life?
One of the common mistakes or things that really it's before the mistake. It's the thing that they're already doing, which is beating up on themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Self-criticism. And then they often couple this with performing.
Yeah.
Right. So rather than say a mastery perspective of what can I learn from this? How could I do it differently next time? It's just loaded with so much judgment that it's hard for them to hear their own guidance. It's hard for them to have feelings of aliveness or whatever it is, whatever their challenge is, often tied right back to all that self-criticism and judgment. So I guess it's kind of one of the core mistakes, if you will.
And that is so true. And I think in the last 3 years, it's really come out much more so. When we had time to ourselves, we had actually had to slow down and really get retrospective and reflective on our lives and where we are in our lives. It's how did people react to that? And some people were finding it joyful and healthy and wonderful, and others found it very traumatizing and hard. And
yes, and that that trauma, unresolved trauma, can show up in so many different ways.
Yeah,
and we can feel like a victim to it, but we don't have to be. I don't believe that we have to be. And even in worst case scenarios, we can still do something about it. We can, in a way, fight for ourselves. And this conversation reminded me of reading let's see if I can get the title right, Waking the Tiger Within, Peter Levine. There's an example that he gives of 2 young boys who were in some sort of hostage situation. And one of the boys is just kind of cowering and afraid, and he's so freaked out, right?
Yeah.
Of course. But there's another boy, he's in the same scenario, but for whatever reason inside him, he has the urge to get out no matter what. And so he's like, I don't know if I'm remembering this exactly 100%, but how I'm remembering it is that he's like digging his way out, it might have been with a spoon or something, but he never lost faith. He never stopped fighting for himself, that he could have a different existence. And those 2 young boys were rescued. And then later in life, the one who had been fighting for himself is thriving, doing really well, right? So there's something about that that's really powerful. The one who had kind of collapsed in, never got the support that he needed to make that transition into fighting for himself. And he was struggling in life years later. So I think if we can activate that, if we can choose to say, wait a second, I know there's something better. I'm going to find it. I'm going to have it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to take that next small step to what might help me or give me answers.
Well, that's awesome. Great story. And that made me think of several other stories that really align with that too. We are really running out of time. So my last question is, what's the next journey on your path?
Oh, I love that. The next journey on my path is, I feel that my calling to serve others is expanding. And so I'm doing what I can to raise my own capacity for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, how much of myself can I give? What is
Right.
that? What could that look like? And where can I grow even
Mm-hmm.
more?
Right.
And also in letting down some of my personal walls on a personal level. So a couple of areas there for me. That's
I think
mine.
that's great because, to me, life is all about developing and growing and not being stagnant. And so to recognize that as you help people, it gives you more insights to things that you might want to change in your life and just continue to evolve.
Yes, indeed. I think having chosen becoming an entrepreneur really gave me a bigger container for all that growth,
Yeah.
because and also helped my own soul journey become more cohesive, and because it was inside me already, and I was like, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, right? Like those old messaging. And when
Right.
I was like, oh, I can, oh wait, it's a choice, right? I can
Mm-hmm.
do it. And as scared as I was, I took that leap of faith, and it's paid off. It's just been beautiful. It's paid off for me personally,
Mm-hmm.
and just fills my heart. I'm just so
Yeah.
grateful that I get to do what I do. And so I may not know what the journey is, and life changes, right? Like, we didn't know that there was going to be a pandemic.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's in the future for us per se in terms of the human experience, but we can almost guarantee that it's going to change.
Yeah.
And right, and we stay open to it and we embrace it, then life gets really interesting.
Yeah. And it's, to me, it's all about the mindset that you take with you, packing that luggage, you're a positive mindset. And for me, the things that you're doing, having that alignment with your soul and making sure that you are taking care of self, I think will help that journey to be one that's a beautiful one.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
So, as I always remember my audience, that life is a journey and it is up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Netling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Netling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.